people who are regular drug users are deteriorating at a way faster rate now than they were like 10, even like 7 years ago.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like you'll see someone now, and we all see like the
You live in that unknown. I mean, we make, and righteously so, we make huge stories about some of those in America.
but it's like so specific who.
It's so specific who. Down there, it's like, you walk down the street, go like this, and wait for the wind, and people are going to walk out, and they all have the same story.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do we have any idea, like, what ballpark? I don't expect you to know this, even if we do have an idea, but, like, what percentage of revenue fentanyl represents for the cartels these days on a broad basis? I mean, obviously, it's significant.
I think fentanyl and cocaine, it's like it
That's the whole thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, okay, so there's like heroin doesn't exist anymore. And like that's done. Meth, yes, but like it's mostly people want fentanyl and benzos. And like that's the main thing. And obviously cocaine, there will always be a crazy appetite for cocaine. I'm surprised cocaine isn't legal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that it like we legalize weed but not coke. That's crazy. Like everyone does coke.
Because it could it's rare, but coke can kill you. That's the difference.
Yeah, but so can other prescription medications.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And if people are like, there's so many cocaine overdose. I've seen it in front of me all the time, and in different, in very different environments too, right? Like I've seen an overdose happen where it's like that typical, like on the street, someone is like injecting with this and this and this, and then it's like he's a goner. But then I've seen like like a after party, like at a club, at a nightclub.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other problem is like now people are getting coke laced with fentanyl and they don't know it.
Yes.
It's happening all the time.
Well, in that end of that reel, I literally said, if you've done coke in Canada, you've done fentanyl. And yeah, and I stand by that term.
I think it's that widespread.
It's so widespread. So there's drug testing, free drug testing in Canada available, and you can either mail in your drugs or you like walk in. And there's one that's run by the government, but it takes like 3 to 4 days to get your drugs back. There's a private one, and you go and they'll give it back to you in like 2 hours. They'll test it right there.
Actual illegal drugs.
Yeah. Yes. That's how bad the overdose deaths are.
They just give it right back to you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, for the government one, you'll just send like a sample. Right, you'll like mail it in.
Yeah.
So you're not like, hey, I'm gonna send you my baggie. Please, don't lose it or anything. And so,
that is a drug I'm so glad I never tried.
Cocaine.
It looks awesome.
I've never tried cocaine because I know that I would probably love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks incredible. Never saw a dude on cocaine. I saw some dudes who took way too much, and I was like, okay, pipe down, obviously.
But if you're
never
like,
saw a dude who wasn't having a good time on
right?
that stuff. Yeah.
Like if you're like, I don't know, like 6 vodka sodas deep, and you rail a line, those people look like they're living their best lives.
They do. They really do.
This is so gonna get demonetized. Oh my god.
We'll be bleeping out a lot on this one. It's all right.
I'm sorry.
But no, listen. It's usually me. So
okay.
And it's been me today, so we're all good. And I know, like, for certain subject matters, like, we're going to have to do more editing when it comes in. It's just how it works. But, yeah, I mean, there's not really it's not like they're putting balance sheets on what they're doing with the drugs. But it does seem to the layman, I'm glad to get it confirmed, that those are, like, the two that they're focused on.
And so the problem is, too, right, a lot of stuff now is also laced with benzos. And so we all know about like I don't know what we call it here, Narcan, naloxone.
Yes,
it's the same
Saves
thing.
You,
yeah. That doesn't work with benzos. So if you have an overdose from benzo, you get in, like someone gives you Narcan, it's not gonna work.
Why? Do you understand the science there? Because I don't. I have no idea.
From what I know, like the enzyme, it only counteracts like the opioid, like with fentanyl.
Got it.
It won't do it with the
Okay.
down. Like it's yeah.
Okay. So they're pushing a lot of benzos too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the thing is now with the drugs, and when I've talked to a lot of people from the streets or like people who work the street beat a lot, like ex-cops or whatever, they're like, people who are regular drug users are deteriorating at a way faster rate now than they were like 10, even like 7 years ago.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like you'll see someone now, and we all see like the hunch, right?
Yep.
Like you're hunched over because it destroys your bones and like.
Yep.
So that wasn't really happening before. Like you didn't really see people hinged over like that, though at the rate that you do now, at least, or at least for what I've seen.
It's the potency of what they're taking.
It's too strong, and now also people are building, a lot of people that I spoke with, they have such a high tolerance. They're like, some people I spoke with were literally like, Katarina, I would love to go back to being a heroin user, but I can't. Like, it's fentanyl or nothing now. Imagine that. Like, imagine hearing that, like, you'd rather be able to be addicted to fentanyl. And like this one like gentleman I spoke with, he was like, I was a weekend warrior. Like I would do really hard drugs on the weekends, but like during the week I would live my regular life. And I would drink, but I didn't do hard drugs, and I would do heroin. And then he's like, and then they introduced fentanyl. He's like, I do drugs all the time now. Like there's no such thing as weekend warrior. And I thought that was like a really interesting term that he used, because it's like, yeah, people at a certain point were able to like hide their addiction to really hard drugs, but now it's too strong.
It's too strong, and they get laced on it. There's some old podcasts on multiple big podcasts. I think Lex Friedman did one, Joe Rogan did one, and a few other guys with this dude, Dr. Carl Hart. And I will admit, to this day, I've never been able to get myself to listen to it. I have not. So I have to preface that with this. But he's a professor at Columbia. There's no doubt. He's obviously like a brilliant guy. But his whole thing is that he takes a little bit of heroin like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to say it's been packaged all wrong. It's actually really good for you. Here's the benefits. And again, I've never heard him out. So maybe I'm really missing something there. But when I hear stuff like this, and then you look at every data point that's available to us through everything we're talking about today, and that I could talk about with a bunch of other people on a bunch of other topics where drugs gets tied into it and what it's done. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like that shit, there's a reason why it's like the devil's elixir or whatever the hell they call it. Like, you're not supposed to fucking take that. It's so simple. We just had Kurt Angle in here who, broke his neck 5 times. Docs put him on painkillers. Couldn't get off him.
No, yeah. And that's the case for a lot of people.
It's so sad,
And another thing, too, is like a lot of people who are regular drug users and they're on the streets, a lot of them have CTE, like what the football players get.
Really?
Yeah, because they incur so many injuries over the course of the time that they're addicted, like not only from the drugs damaging their brain matter, but also because from falling over or getting into a fight, confrontation. And so then you already have an addictive personality, right? And you're already addicted. And then now you tie CTE into the mix.
Wow. I never thought about that.
It is called CTE, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm like, then how do you ever expect to get off of that? But the thing is, like, for the cartels, and then for like, okay, the top of whoever is teaching how to cook or whoever is profiting off of this, that's great news. It's like if you work at Nordstrom's selling Prada shoes and you find out that all your clients get their credit card limit increased. That's literally what that's like. There's a greater threshold of how much you're going to make now.
Yep. Shit gets more, but I don't want to stay on that all day though, because it's just it's fucking brutal. But it's good to it's important to talk about. It's important to have people in here like you who have to see this up close all the time from both ends. By the way, you're seeing it from the people who are at the top supplying it, and you're seeing the people on the street who are getting addicted to it, and people You talk about like the guy with his skeleton showing, like we got to hear that stuff.
For
'Cause
sure.
It drives it home, But El Mayo, we've been talking about him a bunch today. And obviously like that's a huge, huge story that, this is right in your wheelhouse and in your world. So you had said that obviously this brilliant Sinaloa source, like that's pretty amazing, was telling you went back in April.
Yeah, in April.
That this was going to happen, and I believe this happened in the beginning of August.
End of August.
Okay.
Happened end of August, and then second week of September, or like September 7th, it just shit hit the fan in Culiacan. That's when the faction war broke out.
Right.
Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.